girls, Cash Money Morgan. You guys, the podcast has been going on kind of for a while. We're like in a steady relationship, I would say. Ooh, yeah. I'm really excited about my guest tonight, mainly because she's chilled on my couch so many times voluntarily, which is a slay. Please give it up for the one, the only Sarah Price.
Ooh, that's so fun.
Sarah, how you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling so good.
Yeah,
I'm so excited.
Sarah, we both just had to like mentally hype ourselves up because it's Tuesday. We're recording this. We're both corporate girly
Work
pops,
day.
and we're like, wow, I am tired.
Yeah, we're grinding.
We're grinding. You guys, before Sarah and I get into it, there's a lot of updates with the podcast, and I'm really excited about the next solo pod because, again, I am going to be traveling in between it, and we all love a chaotic Morgan travel story.
Yeah.
I live for them, you live for them, so hopefully we can all live together. There's going to be updates on the podcast studio, merch, everything in the next episode, so be sure to tune in. Sarah, what's going on, girl? How you feeling?
I'm so good.
Sarah, before we get into the pod, as my favorite party trick ever, what's your fun fact?
My fun fact. I am allergic to bananas
What?
and avocados.
And avocados? No, Sarah.
I know.
No. So, how is life living without those foods?
It's rough. You know, when I go to Mama Jean's to get my sushi, I can't get my sushi because there's avocado in it. And every time I get a smoothie, it's like, no banana.
No
please.
banana. Are you like chronically allergic where you will be hospitalized or?
No, it's not that dramatic. I just can't hang. It's like my stomach just hurts really, really bad for like an extended amount of time.
Yeah.
And I'm really dramatic about it. But also,
it's okay, girl. I mean, don't be dramatic. You know, you got it. It's okay.
I know my limits. I know my boundaries.
Yeah.
And if there's banana or an avocado involved, I'm not going to do it.
They're probably like the narcissists of the food anyways.
Yeah.
So I'm just kidding.
I don't know what that means,
but
yeah.
That's why we like them so much. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, you guys. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Oh no, off to a slay start. Okay, guys, I'm really excited though for Sarah to be on the pod. So our origin story is pretty interesting, and we're kind of excited to get into it. So Sarah and I actually met like the first week of college, like launch week. I hung out with Sarah in this group of people for Waffle House. Like we were all there that night, right?
You were at that one?
Yeah, I was there. Isn't that crazy?
That's
that was
crazy.
Nice. So it's like I met Sarah, and then I felt like we saw each other all over campus. But that was like we saw each other that night. We knew of each other. We were cool, but we never hung out.
Yeah,
like all of college.
Yeah,
it was wild.
Yeah,
and then we both graduated. We both been in Springfield. And how did our friend relationship start, Sarah?
Well, I slid into your DMs.
Oh my gosh, I was wearing the red shirt. I'm just kidding. Wait, did you really? Yeah. Oh yeah, because I was at TCI and I saw on LinkedIn that I Pour Life was having an event, and at the time I was the marketing coordinator at TCI, and we would sponsor things all the time, whether it was like shootouts or things for, organizations for autism, like all kinds of things. And I was like, yo, I Pour Life is such a great organization. We should be funding this occasionally or whatever. And so we submitted a donation, and then did you slide in?
Yeah.
Okay, you slid in.
Yeah, well, I saw it come through and I was like, wait, is that...
She's like,
this
is
Morgan
the
Bagel?
Most random company ever.
Yeah, and then I listened to your podcast and I was like, you had made a comment specifically about nonprofits, and I was like, I'm a nonprofit girl, so yes, I was like, let's talk, let's connect. And then it turned into, I don't know that we talked about nonprofit or podcasting much. We just kind of started getting into it, and I was like, I'm gonna tell her my life story, and she's gonna tell me her life story, and now we're best buds. And
we really are, and it's insane. Like we got coffee. Shouts to Mud House, sponsor please. I'm just kidding. Yeah. We went to Mud House and we just chopped it up, and we realized, we're both at this point. We're going into our third year out of college, right? Is that good math?
Right now, yes.
Right.
Like we're this week.
Right now we're like 2 years out, but we're going into our third year out.
We're junior adults.
We're junior adults, and it's insane. Like my Snap memories come up. First of all, I don't even use Snapchat anymore, but I only keep it from the memories, and they'll come up and it's like, oh, 5 years ago you were in a car with this guy and this girl and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what? 5 years? 5 years? I feel old, but
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so Sarah and I, it's crazy because we knew of each other but never hung out, and now it's like whatever 2-3 years since college, and now we loft Evo, we hang out, we're both in interesting seasons of life, and it's crazy how God works in that way, you know. But yeah, shout out to downtown. We love it here.
Yeah,
love it. Yeah. So okay, but Sarah, let's get into your job role and what you do at the nonprofit, and a little bit more about the nonprofit.
Yeah. So I work at I Pour Life. Sounds weird. It's a weird name, but basically we work with at-risk youth and youth who are aging out of foster care. So we work with ages 16 to 24, and the mission is to help them reach a point of self-sufficiency. So a lot of these youth coming from the foster care system, they have had a lack of consistency in their life. And so what we do is we pair them with a life coach who kind of helps them navigate through different circumstances that they're going through. They go through our workbook that covers how to like name emotions, how to put new identity over, you know, the labels, the lies and labels they've been taught their entire lives. I said emotions. It helps them with relationships, like to name if this is a healthy or non-healthy relationship, having them navigate and figure out what is a positive relationship in their life, and how to put up boundaries with people that aren't positive relationships in their lives. So just a lot of things that most, I wouldn't say most, but a lot of people experience from a family, from growing up in a house that's, even if it's dysfunctional, even if it's like slightly traumatic, it's still that consistent. Having two parents like versus not having parents is a huge difference. And so we get to come alongside these youth and just kind of give them that support, that hand up that they didn't necessarily receive growing up. And it's just really incredible to see how something like naming their identity as a positive thing can change their entire life, like change their outlook on life, and show them that they are worthy. Like a lot of the times they've not been told that before in their lives. And so for us to enter in and be like, hey, you're really good at this, or hey, I see this in you, and call that out in them, it changes people's lives. And I've not only seen that like in my job, but just in other relationships outside of work too, how important it is to like call out those positive things. But yeah, so that's what we do at iPour Life, and I'm in charge of our events for the youth. And so I get to plan monthly events where we do different life skills with them. So we cover healthy living, financial literacy, education, employment, gratitude, and community give back. And then I get to put on like fun events too. So we just had an event called the Backyard Bash where I like hired a petting zoo. I didn't really ask anyone. I just was like, hey guys, we're going to have a petting zoo and don't ask any questions.
Yes.
And we got there. I had a nightmare the night before about the petting zoo.
Oh no.
I had a dream that they brought a monkey and a puma and the puma started like chasing after me. So I was like legitimately anxious.
Do you have like a history of puma trauma or something?
Okay, it's funny that you say that because growing up, I'd go to Florida, my grandma's house in Florida, and there was this black puma picture right above the bed. And so every night before going to bed, I'd look up at this puma, just scared, like as a child. And so I do think that
there is something there, yeah.
Yeah, but all that, you know.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, my job is super fun. Sometimes it's just me like on Pinterest and then on Amazon, like choosing random things that I think will look cute on a table, or but then other times it's me driving a youth to church to come with me to church, or like serving at a golf tournament. It's just super random, which is fun because I never saw myself just like in a normal 9-to-5 job, which my job is, but at the same time, like it's not. It's exciting enough that I am not trying to run away from it.
So okay, these youth, they're all in the foster care system that typically
probably 80% of who we serve. So
So then they're allowed to just like leave and come hang out with you guys for an event, and then they just go back. Is that?
Yeah, a lot of them have aged out of the foster care system, and so they're either living in a transitional living home. Some are still in a foster home. Some live on their own. Like there's some really cool programs around Springfield where TLC Properties actually bought like an entire apartment complex and sells the apartments to like low income
That's
youth
awesome.
who've aged out of foster care. It's called Y Gardens. And so we have a lot of youth that live there and get to like pay for reduced housing, but it's super nice facility. And they have people there that kind of check in on them as well, just to kind of help them, because they're aged out, but they're 18 to 21. So they're still young and they're still kids. And I think that's the craziest thing is a lot of, and now with COVID, and I think every state is different, which for what the rules are on aging out of foster care, but it's so sad to see how suddenly like the state just drops them. Like the state will be moving them around from different houses like their entire lives, and then all of a sudden one day they've got nothing, which is a relief to some of them because they're finally like free.
Yeah.
But at the same time, then they're just kind of up to fend for themselves. And there's a lot of like changes and reforms and things that have happened that make it a little bit easier for them who are aging out, but it's still a huge issue. And it's why iProLife exists, is because there is that gap in services for this age group. And there's such a high percentage, I think like 1 in 5 foster youth end up homeless just because the odds aren't in their favor. Like there's not a lot of positive, which is unfortunate because I mean the foster care system is built on the hope that a child who's not in a safe environment will be put in a safe environment. But there's so many, red tape and rules and regulations that make it like these kids aren't looked at as human. They're just kind of tossed around, and it's so sad, but it's really incredible. The youth I've interacted with are so resilient, and that's something I continually will ask them. I'm like, how are you so resilient? Because they will tell me things that are just like horrific and things you would never imagine a 16-year-old going through. Yeah. And especially in Springfield, like it's easier for me to be like, oh, that happens like in another country or whatever. But like there's several youth right now that I'm working with that are just homeless, and there's not resources for them. Like in Springfield, where there are like 200 nonprofits or something like that, there's not a resource for youth who were never in state's care, who are like over 18. They're just like, there's nowhere for them to go except for the streets, which is just crazy. So, I don't know what the question was originally, but I can just go on and on.
No, it's okay, Sarah. I mean, obviously that's some heavy stuff, right? And I look at like me, and I'm in a consultant role at a digital marketing agency, slay. I'm just kidding.
Big slay.
No, but in your role, that's a huge slay as well. But when I come home, like I could have like a mentally hard day, but it's more so about, my interactions with clients and sales meetings where, you had a hard day, and maybe there was 3 kids that are homeless that poured into you, and now you're supposed to go home and make dinner and watch Suits. I mean, like how do you compartmentalize that situation? Like how do you process? Like what does that look like?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's in my role specifically, it's more rare that I'm interacting with them. So it's a bit easier for me to like put up the boundaries and say like, okay, this is work. This is time to go home. Like I'll put it away. But there's been an increased amount of like interaction that I've had with the youth, which I love, and that's where my heart is. And I think the biggest thing I've learned, and this is what my mentor told me, was we have to come back to the reason we're doing this in the first place. And she's just reminding me like the Lord called me to this, and my yes to him, like that's the only yes that I need to have.
That's good.
And so when I'm having a hard day, even when I feel that the Lord's asked me to do something specific for these kids and it doesn't go in the successful way, like a worldly successful way, I have to remind myself, like, I may not see the fruit of it in my lifetime. Like, if God told me to do it, I have to do it.
Yeah.
Whether or not I'm going to see fruit from that. And so just trying to, like, take myself out of it and remind myself, too, that I can't have an expectation that any of these youth that I'm serving are going to be able to give back to me. Sometimes I guess when I started this role, I was like, oh, this will be so, like, fulfilling. Like, I'll have such a purpose in this because I'm going to see lives transformed and I'm going to see, like, the direct impact that I'm going to have on these kids. And when you're working with a demographic that you don't really see that happening, it can get so discouraging and you can get burnt out so quickly because there's going to be more bad days than good days. There's going to be more youth that...
Oh my gosh, downtown is popping. Why?
It is popping.
It's like I'm so sorry. Oh, these cars. What are they, like NASCAR with the speedway? My gosh. I'm sorry, Sarah.
Route
Continue.
66.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, it's you know, you just have to remember that your fulfillment cannot come from what you're doing, no matter if it's like service or nonprofit work or marketing or whatever you're doing. Like, there's gonna be moments that you only can rely on God, and as soon as your identity comes from what you're doing, you're gonna feel empty.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's taken me 2 years into my role to kind of understand that and realize that. But it's just so humbling to realize, like, it has nothing to do with what I can do or can't do. And there's so many times too that I've not done what God's asked me to do, and that can be discouraging. But then the Lord has been so kind in saying, like, I can still work, like, without you. Like, I don't need you, Sarah. I want to work with you. I want to be a coworker with you. And it's just a relief on me too, because it's like, even though these youth, like, have such hard stories, it's not my burden to bear.
Yeah.
And I just have to daily give that to the Lord. And I don't every day, but that's just what I have to go back to when it's just overwhelming. Yeah,
that's good, Sarah. And I really appreciate Sarah coming on the pod because, one, you're very authentic, and I love that. I love people being real. But it's also fascinating because I really feel like Sarah and I are such similar seasons in life, and we've also really been corporate girlies like the minute we graduated college. So it's cool to see how, and we started this Loft Devo night, and Sarah comes to it. Thanks for coming to it. It's been fun. But I think there's so many struggles that we have, like, in our job, experiencing burnout or feeling discouraged. And one season you're so passionate about everything, and the next season you're literally like, God, I do not know how to continue this. Like, I'm relying with you on everything because I don't know how to do any of this anymore. And it's weird and it's hard. And you're so right. And this is a total tangent, but my listeners know I've been reading this Healthy Relationships in Marriage book, which, there's like nothing cooking in the kitchen, but I'll tell you what, like, I'm prepping.
Right, we gotta lay the groundwork.
We're laying the groundwork. And okay, but when you were talking, it reminded me of something, was that in this relationship marriage book, they said that a percentage of marriages that are highly happy are the ones where the spouse, like maybe one of the couples is, going through something hard. Like, maybe they're picking up more hours at work, or maybe you're just going through a rough season, whatever. And the other person is just serving them and you're not expecting anything in return. And I think that's how, like, healthy relationships are supposed to be, is you're always serving one another without wanting things in return. And one thing about me is that I don't play games unless it's ping pong at Classics Yard. Classics Yard is Springfield's #1 social sport and game center. It is located in the back of Classic Rock Coffee Company headquarters and next door to the Riff. Coffee, sports, music, what more could you want? located at 1900 West Sunset Street in Springfield, Missouri. Be sure to check them out, play some games, and reserve your event today. Visit www.classicsyard.com. I feel like my most healthy friendships are that way. Mm-hmm. And the way that you said, God's called me to this and I don't know if I'm going to see a return. It's one of those things where maybe, and I'm preaching to the choir here because we both know like what we talked about in our devos and just hanging out. It's like, we don't understand why God has called us to certain things in our life. There's things that we just really don't know if we'll see the fruit of it. Like, we could be in our jobs or other roles and just be us and not know what God's plan is. But then maybe in 5 years, something happens and we weren't there. But because of what he did while we were there, maybe that had an impact. And it's kind of like serving whatever God's called you to, like serving it without having expectations back. Mm-hmm. And so that was really good that you shared that. I feel like that's really powerful. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have you seen any youth who have gotten out of the program? Like, are you allowed to be friends with them, or have you seen any of them, like the impact on their life since being in iPour Life?
Yeah, I've got a lot of the ones that started kind of when I started. So I've been there for 2 years. They're still coming to our events and things like that. I wouldn't say that they have because you never really, none of us ever arrive. But I just went dorm shopping with one of the girls a few weeks ago. She's going to Missouri State.
That's awesome.
And seeing the transformation, and it may be like small to the world, I guess, but seeing her transformation from showing up to events, just like honestly hating it, like didn't want to be there, would tell me she didn't want to be there, was not happy at all, to the last time I saw her, was hugging me and wouldn't let me go.
Wow.
And is asking me to go dorm shopping with her, and is telling me how she's putting boundaries up in relationships and knows what's a healthy relationship, what's not a healthy relationship. Things that maybe aren't as big on the outside, but I know internally, that changes the trajectory of her life.
It really does.
I've seen so many things like that, and we have had one youth who came back and started serving as a volunteer. So she's now pouring into the youth that she was in that position, and who better to be in that spot than someone that has lived through that, because there's a level that I can't relate to them, and there's always going to be that level of, everybody's experiencing something different, whether two kids in foster care are going to have two entirely different experiences. But having somebody come back and be like, I made it through this, you can make it through this. This is why you're worth even coming here. It's worth you putting the effort in. It's been really, really cool.
Yeah, that's phenomenal, Sarah. That's awesome. How did you even find your job at iPour Life?
I was a nonprofit major at Evangel, and there was some email business professor.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Business professor sent an email that was iPour Life is hiring a marketing intern, whatever. And I was like, oh my goodness, I have to apply. I have to get this.
Yeah.
And I applied for it, and I remember I did not walk all the way there, please. I remember
she strutted.
I strutted from Evangel to iPour Life. Drove over there, walked in the door, and our office is this little house, and it's really cute. It was it's one of the it's on the historic registry.
Love it.
Built in 1894. And I walked in and I was like, I'm going to work here. I just was
wow.
It was a total God thing.
You told them that on the interview?
I said, hey, I'm working here, before I even interviewed.
Yeah.
And then I interned there for about a year, and then came back full-time after graduation. Started in doing marketing, social media. I still do that, but also really get to work with youth and pour into them. So
amazing. So what would you say is your biggest advice for someone wanting to go into the nonprofit sector, or specifically even working with at-risk teens?
From where I'm at now, I would say first, to someone this is just going to be me having a moment for a second.
Have a moment.
For those that like look at nonprofit as like a less than, like a,
say it, girl,
less professional than a like corporate business, it can be, and there's definitely organizations that are, but if you are trying to go into a nonprofit business to work there, you should not have that mentality. Like, it's not less than a corporate position. It's not less professional. It's not less, definitely not less work. And there's just, I don't know, I've experienced a lot of stereotypes like that. Like, I got a message the other day that was like, oh, I know you're a charity, but, and I was like, whoa, okay.
Yeah. Oh, wow, my name is Sarah.
Calm down. And like, there's just, and so many, boomers have been like, oh, nonprofit, do you make money? I'm like, well, me personally, not really. But that's not why I'm doing it. Thank you, Grandma. Love you. But
we have all been there.
We've all been there.
We've all been there. Wow. Live up, love, family slay.
But yeah, like, it is a worthy profession. I think that's like a big thing. And it's up to you to, if you're looking to go into nonprofit, like, you should take it seriously, and you should, because it's probably, and I haven't worked in like a only corporate setting, but in any nonprofit role, you're going to have probably doing 3 roles that you would be doing in any other job, because it's, your nonprofits are usually understaffed unless it's Convoy of Hope. Praise God for Convoy of Hope. Usually going to be working longer hours than was on your job description, and you're not there to do it for the money. You're there to do it because you were called to it, whether that's from the Lord or just like your urge to do it. And it's hard work, and it's not something to be taken lightly, but like I said before, like, you have to go into it knowing that just because your work may on paper like be fulfilling or purposeful, it's not going to be unless you're conscious of like who you're serving. Yeah, so there's an answer in there somewhere.
No, that's good. No, Sarah, that was so good. Yay, Sarah. No, that's good. And I think that's similar, like, when you're looking at any role, you know, if you're going to be a doctor, you can understand that you're trying to save lives and you're going to work a lot of hours. So, you know, when you're working for a nonprofit, you know, you're dealing with people's lives and you can make a difference. And that may not have all the zeros at the end of the check, but you have to navigate, like, what is God calling to you and what is important to you in your life. And so no, I think that was a good answer. Yeah. Yay. Queen. Yay. So Sarah and I are going to transition a little bit, and we're going to set the table. Okay. So right now we're sitting on the couch, we're vibing, we're 2 girls. Sarah and I hang out, and we want to keep it 100. You know, it's back to school season, Evangel's in session, MSU's in session. We're 2 girls that have been out of college for 2 going on 3 years. We have some advice, but also we have lots of tears to shed. Have you been to Evangel since we graduated? Oh no.
I have, and for like to see like a choral performance or something.
Oh, okay, nice.
Or, my friend is now, I had one friend who was the RD, and now another friend that's the new RD, so help like the moving out and the moving in.
Oh, so sweet.
But there was like the month after graduation, I went to campus during the summer and sat in the little amphitheater outside Trask and just cried.
You were sad about graduating?
I don't know what I was sad about.
No, okay.
I was just like, oh, this isn't. And I think it was mostly because I still lived in Springfield, but I was like,
thinking you were going to leave Springfield.
No. Well, so here's what happened. I think being at Evangel, I didn't fully comprehend the fact that I was like leaving, because I was like, oh, I'm staying in Springfield, I'll have the same friends, whatever. And then when I left campus, it just felt like an entirely different world. Yeah. Because Evangel's such a bubble.
So you were on campus until you graduated?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's where you and I were different, where I lived off campus senior year. So I already was transitioning into feeling loneliness and distant. And but I was also going through stuff when I was about to graduate. So like graduating for me was like, I'm like, thank God. But I know that if God ever calls me to leave, you know, this area, whatnot, I'm going to have to do my evangel walk by and be like the solicitor who is crying. Yeah, that's probably going to be me for sure. Just, I went, honestly, I've been to evangel like maybe twice since graduation, but we did go one night with a bunch of friends because we were like,
you have to.
Some alums just walking.
I mean, they're building stuff like crazy.
I know. I feel like if I go there, I'm not going to recognize it. And I'm so mad because I funded the Burgess ping pong table and I should have put a plaque with my name on it. And now I feel like if I do that, it's just like conceited. You know, it's like, no, what are you doing? You think I should still do it?
Yes, you absolutely should.
I don't even know if they still have it. It was, I mean, I like bought it from like Facebook or something. Like it was like $20, you know, but still I was like, I made this happen. So.
Yeah.
But Sarah, let's talk about a little bit, you know, school's in session and we're in this place. Like, let's talk about our lives right now. Like I'm 24, you're 24, right? And we're both corporate. We're both single. We both are like loving God, chasing God. And it's kind of a weird season. Like I don't know. I mean, there's moments where I'm so grateful, so grateful for like everything and everyone around me, but it's also been a really odd, like difficult season. Things that I just like didn't expect. And I think it's hard too, because we're both in a place too where we're like, we don't know what God's calling us. Like, we don't know. There's like parts where you want to be in a relationship, but also you're like, yo, Springfield demographic is interesting.
Preach, girl.
I'm like, oh no. But what would you speak about the season of life that we're both in right now?
That is like one thing I was just so grateful when we did meet up and like start talking, and I was like, oh my goodness, we're the same. And like during college we kind of had like friend group overlap, but I wouldn't have said like, oh, me and Morgan Pagel are like on the same, I don't know, because like you were doing different things, I was doing different things, and it just didn't overlap. And so now, especially with the Loft Devo too, like seeing how similar all of us girls are in this stage of life, and how really we all just have like this deep like yearning to just like be seen and like be loved, and we all have this kind of loneliness that is this residual of graduating college and living alone, or not being married instantly, and just navigating that. Like that alone is such a bonding experience, and it's been I mean it's hard, but it's been really sweet to see that like girlhood come about. And I think that the first year after graduation, that part of my life is like way different than who I am today.
I would completely agree.
Yeah. Like I feel like you're the one that said to me like there's like freshman year, like you're freshman out of college, and then being an adult, whatever.
It's like when you're out of college, the first 4 years out of college, it's like it's adult college. Like you're a freshman being an adult, you're a sophomore being an adult, junior year. And it's so true. Like I get all these like snap memories of when I was a freshman adult, and I was like in the midst of like healing my heart from like heartbreak, and just the unhinged things I would do or wear or said. I was like, girl, yes. I'm like, oh my, I'm like embarrassed about my old self. Yeah. But it's like, I think in college and post-college, you know, you have to give yourself grace. You're really, when you're 19, 20, I mean, because you graduate college, you're 22. No, when you're 22, you're 23, like you're such a kid. I mean, we're 24 and we're like, oh, that
back in the day.
But you're a baby. And I think like if I could go back to college, like if I was a freshman starting right now, I would tell myself like, I miss it. Like I miss being a freshman. I don't miss being anything else. But, you know, I'm like, enjoy those moments. Enjoy not having to be like this full adult, you know, have the most fun, stay out with your friends, you know, do your homework, whatever. But like make those memories because, I mean, I still feel like we take life and we make the most out of it for sure. I mean, I love traveling. I love my friends. You know, it's great stuff. But there's something so sweet about being like young and dumb.
Yes, no, that's good.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, do you have like, what do you think about college or freshman, or I mean, any advice as these people are going back to school?
Yeah, I've specifically this year felt just like a real nostalgia for that first week of college, and how I think they even said this to us, which I don't know why they do. Like during launch week, they're like, okay, enjoy these 2 weeks because it's going to get real bad after that. Like they were, do you remember
I don't even remember any of that.
Maybe it was just like they told the parents that. My mom was like, hey, by the way, guess what? It's going to suck after this first 2 weeks. But it's like this honeymoon phase when you first get launched in, and then it's like, okay, start school, and then you have to deal with the emotions of not having your parents and all that stuff. But it is just such a cool, unique time to just be thrown in, no matter what college you're in, to be thrown into an environment where you're all the same age. You're all like, I mean, your goals may be different, but your goal is to graduate with a college degree. I think my advice for like a freshman would be really go make friends.
Yeah.
Go interact with the people that you wouldn't have interacted with in high school. Don't let like, I know that I did this. I just like had this residual high school of like, oh, that person must be in this type
like
of friend
the
group.
clique
Like,
vibe.
yeah, like I wouldn't belong there or whatever. Like, don't let that go with you into college. Just be friends with whoever is nice to you, and make new friends, and join clubs, and do things that are silly that you wouldn't have done in high school. And like this is the time to make friends. And I know you're not like freshmen aren't really thinking like, oh, how do I network for my future career? But honestly, I get to, in my role now, look back and be like, oh, I know this person from college. Like I could reach out to them for this opportunity. And there's so many things like that I'm really grateful that I have good relationships with people. But yeah, make friends.
Even in terms of dating, like I remember freshman year launch, like you do launch, there's this guy in your launch group and you're like, oh my gosh, like I think I'm gonna marry him, and then he ends up going for like 4 other girls in your class. And I remember going into my dorm and being like, oh, like he said he was gonna play me a ping pong and then he didn't. And I remember this girl in my dorm being like, Morgan, you are literally 18. There's gonna be a million guys who don't play you ping pong. No, but really it's like, you know, you're young, and in college, you know, you can date someone, you can do your own vibe, and that's cool, but also there's so many people to meet. And I mean, I think it's hard because I don't want to say the advice is like, don't date somebody because people get married and whatnot, but also a lot of my friends that were in those solid relationships like missed out on a lot of friends and a lot of people because they were closed off. Where I, you know, if there's a way that you're able to be open and take things slow, it doesn't have to be so finalized right away. I mean, that's the beauty of being a freshman and being in college, is meeting people, having fun, taking your time. And yeah, I was so boy crazy back then. I mean, I'm not sure if it went away, but but it's like, because then all of a sudden you become 24 and you're like, whoa, this dating pool is a kiddie pool. Shallow pond. But
somebody, I don't know who was this rude to me and said this in college, but they were like, I feel like it was like a professor or something was like, yeah, if you don't find anybody in college, like good luck out there. And there is some truth to that. But at the same time, I took that with such like a fear. And I was like, I have, especially at Evangel in Springfield, like just a whole Midwest culture. It was such a like, oh my gosh, I have to find my husband now. If I don't find my husband now, I'm never going to find my husband. And I'm not married, so I can't be like, well, that was a lie. Because I, you know, but at the same time, I think I wasted so many days, hours, nights, just like being like, oh, okay, this crush didn't work out. Who's the next one that I can look into? And who else can I like just like think is the best person ever and then realize is not. Just like there's so much more to the college experience than like dating a guy that's in your friend group.
Oh, for sure. And I think one of the biggest pieces of advice too is like, I guess we're talking about dating, right? And going into college, like I hadn't really dated a lot of people. And I remember being in the mindset of like, oh, I just really want to have that connection. I just want to really vibe with someone, whatever. And I wanted it so badly that I really put my standards low. I was like, okay, well, if I vibe with them, if I have connection, you know, maybe we're quote unquote just friends. Like, we don't have to go on dates. Like, he doesn't have to go to church with me. He doesn't have to do these things. And because I did that, I allowed, you know, different guys to not have to do those things with me, to not have to pursue me or treat me with respect, but really they just got like what they wanted. And so, you know, as we're talking, like, I hope these girls who are, whether you're in your young 20s or you're in college, whatever it looks like, no, like, if I could go back in time, you're going to save so much heartbreak. Like, boys are dumb, girls are dumb too, but it's like, really know your self-worth and your standards. And if you want to be with me, you have to take me on dates, you have to meet my parents, you have to go to church with me, the right guy will do all those things. Yeah. It's a lie if you don't believe it. And if they don't, then they want to just mess around and they're not worth your time. I mean, you're talking to two girls who have been out of college and have had to go to so much therapy. Like, it's like, take our advice.
Don't do what we did.
When you raise the bar, it qualifies people that maybe it's less people trying to reach it, but the right ones will, you know? And
preach it, girl.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just kidding. But really, that's that, because I've seen girls in college, especially when we were there, that they raised that bar, and some of them met their husbands there, and they met it because that was the standard. Yeah. And if I could go back in time, I would make sure that bar is high. Yeah. So yeah.
As you're saying that too, and I know this really only applies to like evangel or Christian schools, but that standard like has to be higher than just them being a Christian.
That's good.
Going into evangel, I just had this naive sense that all these guys are options because they're all Christians. First of all, they're not all Christians.
That's right.
Second of all, someone said this once.
Say it.
You know, someone one time.
Oh no. You know, the podcast is really just like Twitter, but different.
Right.
Like, there's like so much
misquoted.
We're just like subtweeting all these people because Twitter's out and podcasts are in.
Yes, absolutely. But it was something like they can be. This is not the wording of it, but it was like they can be a Christian, but not like you're a Christian. That's such a bad way to put it. But just the idea that you can recognize that somebody loves the Lord and is passionate about God, and that doesn't mean that they're your husband. Like, yeah. And I think I put myself in that standard of like, okay, well, I need, if my one check mark is that they love Jesus and they do that, then that must be good enough. And I need to like allow them into my vulnerability and like allow them into my safe place. And that's just not true, because there's a lot of men that are Christian who are actually incredible men and men of God. And there's also some that are really good at portraying that they're men of God. And you cannot be a man of God just because you go to a Christian school. Yeah. Like, men of God, their actions, their words, their character reflect the Bible. Yeah. And it's not just them going to church on a Sunday. Like, it's so much deeper than that. But yeah, all that to say, still, just because they are a man of God doesn't mean they're your man of God. Yeah. And it's like hard though, because especially in high school, if you go to a public school and you're surrounded by all these questionable people.
I went to public school.
Yeah, same. Same. And then you go into this Christian environment and you're like, oh, there's so many good options. Yeah. I'm so excited. And then to be let down by countless Christian men is just like really difficult. Yeah.
No, Sarah's hitting the nail on the head. And I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like, I've talked to a lot of evangel guys, a lot of MSU guys, and probably some guys.
It's okay.
Wow, there was a moment I was in the streets.
It's okay.
Oh my gosh. But you're so right. I mean, there were times where I would talk to guys and they would have leadership titles. They would be quote unquote important and came from families that were important, and yet behind closed doors, they would treat me awful. Yeah. And there were times where MSU guys might not even be Christian and they were treating me better than these evangel guys. And so it's kind of like when you're going to a church and you're trying to figure out, okay, does the theology line up with what I believe, like what the Bible says? Yeah. You know, are they matching? And it's like, okay, when you're going out with a guy, you know, is he walking the walk? Like, he's saying he's a Christian, it's in his bio, he's this, and this, but he treats you bad, he maybe emotionally abused you, like whatever's going on, it's, you can't just take what people say at face value. Yeah. It's about how they live their life and how they walk and how they treat, do they love God? Like, how do they treat women? How do they treat their parents? Like, all of those things matter. And so I know Sarah and I but this is like your big sister chat. Like, maybe that's what I should like name the podcast. Yeah, sister chat. Because we're 24 and now we don't date anybody because we can't find anybody to restore. Yeah. But it's like, save yourself a lot of heartbreak. Yeah. And be really strong about your beliefs and be really strong about your value, because like, you are a child of God. You're made in the image of God. Like, you have value. And not to keep talking, but sometimes there are certain moments in my life where I was like, oh, like, some things just don't matter. Maybe it's like a hug or a kiss or a late night drive. But like, sometimes it really does matter. Like, if you kiss the wrong person and you're in a relationship, that's cheating, or whatever. And it's like, our actions do have an effect, whether it's on us and our own mental health or on other people. And so be really mindful of that. Like, do life with intention. Your time's important, and being mindful of, okay, well, how do I honor God with my time? Like, what am I supposed to do with this time? And figuring that out. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Wow. Dr. Phil up in here. Like,
yeah. Let's get it.
We're out here with our relationship advice. I guess if you do go to Evangel, this is like one more quirk. Calf flirting. Did you ever do that?
Okay.
Calf flirting.
Define it, because I'm sure I did.
So at Evangel, they like abbreviate everything. The barracks, like the calf. Yeah. The calf was the cafeteria, and we used to do this thing called calf flirting, and that's like, say like an athlete or like someone went up to get wings that I thought was cute. All of a sudden, that's when I need to go get more food.
Yeah, you need wings.
And so, no, seriously, I'm like so serious. Is anytime, like, I didn't go to dinner until like 5:30. I'm exposing the famales tonight. Like, we went to dinner on the dot like every day at 5:30 because football got out at that time. And then, or, like, you calf flirt, whatever, stay there late, like, all the, there's...
my tactic was usually to sit in, like, the back corner against the windows.
Oh, okay.
So that you can, like, always watch, like, everything. So you can see when your crush walks in. And then, I guess I was doing the calf flirting, I just didn't, like, title it.
You did it more from, like, a distance?
Yeah. Okay. Was like, oh, he's getting water. Like, I'll go get water. But I didn't, like... make that,
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
I would just like strategically, yeah.
I wasn't as bold as, that's a lie, actually.
I was gonna say, I feel like I was not bold until, I don't know, sophomore, junior year. Yeah. Let's see here. I have this quote in my notes: being in your 20s is literally like being in the trenches. It's gonna be rough. Like, you're gonna go through heartbreak, you're gonna go through hard times, but as long as you look fabulous while doing it, that's all that really matters. I've been watching Suits, which Sarah hasn't been watching it, so we can't super relate. But I feel like maybe the TV show has been making me like want a relationship. I don't really know. I'm so like, yeah. I don't know. I'm leaving this for the solo pod. This is about Sarah.
No, girl, go for it.
Sarah, what about you? What's, we just talked all about our dating life, I guess. Is there anything, what is like the number one thing you look for in a guy that's not like, okay, like obviously he has to be like a Christian, like love God. So like besides that, what is like something that you love, like you go for?
So it's funny that you were talking about like the leadership thing, because that was definitely like, now I know not to, because I was like...
Not to go for a leader?
Yes. Well, okay. No, I wouldn't say that
She's
extreme.
like, I want a mad follower.
I want a follower. Well, I was like so only drawn to the leaders because I was like, oh, I can see them from far away and observe them and collect their character from far away. And then I can like... So I could already romanticize like, oh, I know exactly who they are before they even know who I am, which is not a good thing to do. But that was definitely like my type for a long time, and it's something I'm drawn to, which makes sense. It's just like, but I think right now my probably number one thing is kind of a vague thing, and it's not really something that I will know until I know.
Okay.
And I guess it's that that this person would be a like ministry partner.
That's good.
And not in the sense of like starting a church or like starting a ministry necessarily, but I have big goals when it comes to, well, the Lord has big goals for me.
Yeah.
And I need somebody that is like ready and willing to just drop everything and go wherever God's called
That's awesome.
us to go, and or adopt whoever God's called us to adopt, or live in wherever God's called us to go. Like I just feel so strongly I want to be a leader in the relationship, as like whether if I do start a ministry or a nonprofit and I'm the CEO, like I want my husband to like be the CFO, or like I want him to be partnered with me in that. But not in a way that like discounts either of our roles, if that makes sense. So it's not something I can just be like, he's gonna do that.
Yeah.
So,
no, that's pretty awesome. That's phenomenal, Sarah. So
we'll see.
Very cool. Yeah. 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 I'm so bad because I was like thinking like really good pickleballer.
Oh, I mean, I can get that
like really great, like deep answer, and but I totally get it. Like, you know, I think one of the biggest things for me is like having a best friend that is just not dramatic and that like really has like good intentions and doesn't take things too seriously, because I feel like I take things seriously, and I'm attracted to like guys that they're like, what? It's not a big deal. And they're like, what? Like, and they just make me feel really like safe. It made me feel very just like, Morgan, like, please, this is ridiculous. Like, what? I'm like, okay. Because I'm so dramatic. But yeah. Okay. Well, we're obviously coming to a close to this episode. Last few questions is, Sarah, you know, someone in a position like me, if I feel passionate about I Pour Life or like want to make an impact in these teens' lives, what is something that I can do? Is there ways to volunteer my time or money or just pray? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest thing, there's three things: prayer, volunteering, or financial support. Prayers, honestly, I just have had this burden in general for Gen Z, beyond even like who we're working with at I Pour Life. But there's a nonprofit actually called, oh goodness. Anyway, their phrase is Gen Z will be suicide free. And that's awesome. I just am so excited about that, and like speaking life into these young people who are constantly told like you're always on your phone and you're lazy and all these negative things. Like I've really seen the Lord work incredibly in young people, and in our age group included. And so at the very least, just like praying into this next generation and speaking life into them, whether it's youth who are considered at risk, whether it's youth who are at your nearby high school, like just like spending time every once in a while, like praying into them, serving, mentoring. Like if you're out of college, if you're in college, like find a way to serve high school aged young people at your church, or like if you have a younger sibling, you know, like really prioritize pouring into them. And because I really truly believe like the Lord is moving in that generation, and he is like, revival is happening, and it's going to continue to happen. So that's just like a more general prayer. But for I Pour Life too, that, you know, like we have, if you're in Springfield, like we have volunteer opportunities where you can come hang out with us and hang out with the youth once a month or more frequently. And it's really my heart to see like more young people my age do that, because I just know I was more likely in college to like listen to somebody around my age than someone who's like 30 years older than me, because it's just like, oh, relatable, you're chill, you're like me. So I want to see more young people serving. And then if you've got the money, you got the big bucks, if you're in those corporate jobs and you're just like hanging out, We have like a monthly donors thing, or you can sponsor some of our events. And the events, they are really just to provide community and family for these youth that don't have a family. And so it's a really unique and special opportunity. And the youth that are in our program, they are voluntarily in the program, so we're not connected to the state. They are choosing to be a part of it, so it's very like we're doing what is
they're
unique
wanting
to them. Yeah. So so the money is put to good use. But
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys resonate with anything Sarah said, like, please pray, donate, give your time. I mean, there's a million ways to serve and be in someone's life. And especially if you're having a heart for this, like, please help. That would be awesome. And I think there's two things that Sarah said there really that I want to touch on. And one, it's like Gen Z, like no matter what age you are, you could be 13 years old, you could be 20, you could be older. But it's like, you know, God can use you at any age, whether it's in your school, you start a program, you start a sports club, like whatever it is. I mean, I look at us and it's like, oh, you're 24, you work, you have a podcast, you do all these things. But I'm like, yeah, but you know, God's doing these things. Like to me, it's like, this is just like, you know, it's hard, but it's like, whatever, like this is what it is. And eventually it becomes routine, you know? And so you're so right. And I think Sarah also, we both just want to validate anyone, whether you're in college and you're starting out or you're lost, and really, I feel like there's a heart too for the young adults like us, where maybe you're in your career, there's certain areas of your life where you're like, oh, this feels dry. I'm in this season of a walk versus a run. Like, what is God telling me? I'm kind of lost. Like, I think that's a little bit of the season we're in. So if you're in that, you resonate with that, you relate to that, like, feel free to reach out to me. I'm saying reach out to Sarah too.
Send them over.
We slide them DMs. Like, I'm playing. No, but seriously, like, let us know, because at least if you're a female, like, we are building that community here in Springfield. If you're a male, we'll just pray for you.
Prayers.
But yeah, unless you're like over 6 feet tall, then what up? Okay, I'm just kidding.
And have a beard.
I'm not kidding, but yeah. So we, you know, just I hope you feel like you're not alone in your scene, because really, we're like, this is a sister chat. Like, we're on the couch, we don't know what we're doing, but we're trusting God. We're taking things day by day, and we're doing it together. And really, like, where 2 or 3 are gathered together, like that's what God wants. Like, you're doing life together, you're encouraging one another, and you have the best intentions. So well, Sarah, as we end every show, I need to know favorite song, favorite quote, and what do you want your legacy to be? And I'm not sure if we went over that earlier, so this is
briefly
yellow swag.
Favorite song. Okay, right now, my favorite
at
song, at this moment, unfortunately, it's got to be something Taylor Swift.
That's okay. It's okay.
Probably. Oh gosh, this is gonna expose me right now.
Love Story?
No. Her newest song off Speak Now.
Like the brand new released one that you saw in
Foolish
concert.
One.
Okay.
Because it hits a little too hard. Everyone go listen to it. Make your own opinions.
Boom. I told Sarah, I was like, I'm on the Zach Bryan wave. Yeah. And the new song, Everyone Knows That's So Sad. I told her, I was like, I'd almost risk getting ghosted just to be able to like relate to this song. Just kidding. Sorry, continue.
I feel you.
So ADHD, it's bad.
I feel you. What was the other question?
Favorite quote, and what do you want your legacy to be?
Ooh. Favorite quote.
It can be like deep or not deep, you know.
Okay, sorry to like bring up the Bible again.
Bro, don't be sorry about it.
This is like, so I just have repeated this to myself, and it's from Psalm 23. I don't know which verse it is, to be honest. But just, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And like that part alone has just like, I'll just like say that to myself when I'm just, you know, lacking patience, or just, you know, feeling, I want this, Lord. But it's like, the Lord is guiding me. The Lord has the best intentions for me. He's looking out for me long term. And like, he commands me like to just be content with where I'm at. And so I'll just like say that to myself. I'm not very good at memorizing scripture, so when I have little nuggets like that, I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna stick with that one for a while.
No, that's good.
But
that's good. And legacy.
What do
you want your legacy to be? What is legacy?
What's a legacy?
Noun? I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna start singing Hamilton. I just, again, geez, the Lord just popped
just
in.
Just get at it, Sarah.
Oh.
Just get at it.
Okay, so this was like prophesied over me, but like whatever. But
it's like
just like to, not in like a dramatic way, but like to like remove chains from like young people, like to speak life over them and to speak identity and remove the baggage and chains that they've been carrying. And like not that I would be doing that, but the Lord would do that through me. But that like I feel is like my biggest calling, and I'm seeing the Lord do that through me in so many different areas of my life. And I'm like, that's all I want to do. Like, I don't care what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, but I want to speak life specifically over young people. And so I know that if something comes up in my life that aligns in that, I'm like, okay, Lord, let's do it. Let's see
awesome.
See what's cooking.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Sarah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the pod.
Thank you.
You're just sunshine on a rainy day.
Aww.
So Sarah's amazing. Be sure to follow her and all the things. Check out I Pour Life. To my listeners, I love you guys. The solo pod's coming soon. I'm going to drop it like it's hot because there's a lot of updates and my brain has been insane. Yeah. But I appreciate you guys tuning in to the pod every other week. So thanks. Love you guys. Pat yourself on the back. But summer's now done and I'm sad, but that's okay because I don't know. We don't know what's in store for this year, but it's going to be amazing. Okay. Well, you guys have a great rest of your night. And keep on keeping on. Okay, bye.